Have you ever looked at someone's art while doom scrolling social media and thought, what kind of black magic did they use to make the art look so scrumptious? Well, that's me, I fear, every time my beautiful, gorgeous queen Loish posts a painting of hers. So today, after working on this video for 4 months, I'm breaking her style down, trying to draw like her, and revealing the 4 techniques I observed that make her art look so dreamy. And here's what my attempt ended up looking like. We'll talk about that one later. And finally, welcome to the Art Style Hunt, a series where I set out on a journey to find my very own art style and help you find yours by learning from the greats. And hey, if you have a favorite artist or art style you want me to study next, drop the name in the comments below for future episodes. Also, stay till the end to vote for our next episode's case study art style. And let's go out and hunt! So, how I decided to approach this is not by replicating an exact drawing of hers, but rather create an original piece using her techniques. Why, do you ask? Because I don't only want to learn and teach her rendering techniques, but also her thinking process and approach behind constructing the painting and the composition. So basically, it will help both you and me better understand how to apply parts of her workflow to ours. And worth a mention, naturally I won't be sharing any of Loish's paint resources and spit paintings, but rather my own perspective and analysis of her process from public references, aka her social media posts. I would actually strongly advise you to subscribe to her Patreon, especially if you get into her more after this video and want to go deeper. Because she's awesome? Just look at this. Her art absolutely speaks for itself. Lois van Baarle is a huge name in the digital art space. Her painterly and dreamy art style, soft shapes, and magical colors make her an established and unique creative in the industry. She's worked with big companies like Guerrilla Games, EA, Lego, and etc. So putting her on top of my art style hunt list was inevitable, as she was the one who got me into digital art in the first place. Now, let's break down what makes her style so stunning and recognizable. The first one I'd mention is using an environment and environment details as pose and face framing. For example, bubbles, glowing patterns representing magic, plants, small animals, and etc. They are there to complement the character, navigate the viewer's eyes towards the focal point, which is usually a human face, but in her paintings you can also find more magical motifs, and add on to storytelling. For example, if the scene is set in the forest, adding floating leaves or growing plants to make it more convincing and immersive. The second one would be to prioritize. As you can see, most of the details are concentrated near the focal point, and the further away we are from the focal point, the fewer shadows, lines, brushwork, and contrast there is. This is also designed to focus the viewer's gaze on the focal point and to not feel lost in the painting. The third technique is contrast. Contrast in size, hues, saturation, and thickness to give more depth in the technical part of the painting. And plus bonus ones are using a line of action for the post-construction and sketching out multiple compositions before going with one, or mixing and matching. A concept I wanted to mention that I tried to adopt from her process as well is lines. Instead of boring and predictable lines, she usually does that to make them flowier and more interesting. She usually uses her round brush, sketches a line, and then uses the same brush to erase some of the edges and make them more translucent, ranging different thickness and opacity values. These are some of her favorite color combinations. Firstly, Lois chooses a few colors to set the mood of the painting, and later on, as she uses blending modes to add light and shadow, color picks from the painting to ensure consistency. Also, an important note would be her approach to shadows, which I'd highly recommend to everyone as it is widely used and very effective. She doesn't just go through the brightness range, but also changes hue and saturation accordingly to give the painting more life. Another trick is using a lot of gradients in her work, and mostly with the lasso tool in Photoshop. And I also found an alternative in Procreate, which is the lasso tool plus airbrush. Lois uses a lot of room lighting, which is another tip to put more focus on the character and give them an edge. Her paintings also use a lot of glow themes. Glow from within and outside glow and glowing extra details, which gives the paintings an additional round of dreaminess. Last and my most favorite feature, the adorable, flowy, and organic shapes. I suspect that this is a combination of her excellent knowledge of anatomy, aka you gotta know the rules before you break them, frequent experiments with painting nature, for example clouds, which are naturally flowy, and brainstorming on ways to stylize and exaggerate the shapes further, and again closely relating to my discussion about lines and contrast, and lastly her drawing inspiration from Art Nouveau. Mostly, Lois uses Photoshop coupled with a graphic tablet to draw professionally, and a Procreate plus iPad Duo when on the go. As for the brushes, I'm only going to be using Lois's free brush pack, which you can easily access on her website. Finally, let's break down Lois's actual, give or take, drawing workflow into 10 steps, which are, from my observations, as follows. Step 1. Multiple sketch thumbnails to pick a pose and composition to go with. Step 2. Rough sketch. Big shapes first, smaller details later. Step 3. Mapping out general color placement. Step 4. Set a sketch layer to a bright color and multiply layer. Step 5. Placing the shadows with the round brush plus eraser, same brush, and opacity around 80%. Step 6. Rendering and shaping the forms, shadows and midtones mostly. Step 7. Round brush to set the outlines and blend in the colors softly. Step 8. Merge layers and render. Step 9. Another layer for the background and environment rendering. Step 10. Experiment with filters, hues, and color adjustments throughout the process also. So I want to start off by saying that the brush that I'm using here is just a random brush that I found on the internet that I thought would mimic the kind of brush that Loish is using for sketching the best, and it's kind of like a hard versus soft edge brush, and I really liked it, by the way. It really worked well. Basically, the photo that I'm using as a reference is just a random picture that I found on Pinterest that I thought really captured that dreamy, flowy underwater girl vibe, so I really went for this pose. Side note, I really want to apologize because I could only screen record the sketching phase and the iPad just didn't record the rendering phase, and also I was doing it on and off for a couple of months. So apologies for that. And as you can see here right now, I'm working on the character framing, environment framing in the form of corals, which I really thought kind of added to the storytelling of the underwater pose, and I tried to direct it towards the focal point, which is the face. And right now you can see me really struggling with the colors and the color palette because at first it didn't work. I initially really wanted to go for the blue and pink and purple, but it wasn't working. So I reset and filled out everything with blue because I still wanted to do that pink, purple, blue vibe because that's just what she's famous for. So I wanted to stick to that color palette. And right now I'm working on that inner glow, trying to keep up with Loish's themes. Working on the shadows was hard, was lost at some point, but then I found myself when I was looking at the reference help. So I focused on these shadows and building out the highlights as well. I wanted to do that kind of like water reflection kind of vibe, and I also focused a lot on midtones because that really helped to add depth to the painting, focusing on the midtones and then adding some pink accents, and also working on color adjustments. As you can see, it totally changed. I work on some saturation and hues and it helped the painting pop more. And as you can see right now, I'm just working on refining the details. I'm trying to add more depth and I'm trying to just make everything make sense and tie it all together. I really enjoyed drawing those water reflections because at first I tried faking it by just using a brush, but it really didn't work, so I did it myself and kept that glowing theme. And as you can see, I really enjoyed drawing the body more because when I switched to the hair and to the face, it seemed like not rendered looked better than rendered, and I feel like it's because I made the body the focal point more with this interesting lighting situation. And when I tried adding details to other parts, it seemed out of place because, as I said before, you have to focus on the focal point and then everything else leads to it. So there's a kind of a mistake that I made, but the thing is, I worked on this painting in my Procreate statistics almost 24 hours. 24 hours. alright? So I'm not blaming myself because it's been a journey. Yeah, I just decided to end it at some point. As you can see right now, I'm struggling with the face because I really couldn't understand where the lighting was coming from and all that stuff, but I went with my intuition on that and just try to also make it detailed because that's kind of supposed to be the focal point. But alright, in this painting, the focal point is the book. You can see the interesting lighting situation there. You can see it, I can see it. It's alright. Finally, here is the result that I got in the end. I feel like, of course, it could use a lot of adjustments and improvements, but I really had to stop somewhere, considering that it was my first try and Loish's workflow is really different from mine, and putting all of that analyzing and breaking down the style and the techniques and the notes, putting all of that into practice was really hard, but I still managed to push through it. Hopefully you also like the final result. I am open to any notes. So thank you for watching this speed paint, and if you have any questions whatsoever about what I used, how and where, because I didn't have the screen recording, I would be very happy to answer all of that in the comments below. For this series, in the end of the video, I'm going to keep track of all the techniques and tricks that I am definitely going to be incorporating in my art style. To start, as I expected, I'm definitely going to be working on my dynamic and flowy lines more, as it was one of the techniques I enjoyed most from Loish. Next, the hard versus soft edges using lasso plus airbrush is, in my humble opinion, one of the most effective tricks to bring visual interest to the coloring process. Lastly, I think I need to be strategizing more in the beginning by planning the focal point in advance and highlight it using contrast, details, and the environment to enhance the overall composition. That's it for this episode of Art Style Quest. As promised, the voting for the next episode's case study art style. So the styles I'm currently choosing between are Hyperpop and Hades the Game. I'm honestly having a hard time picking, so I'd really appreciate your input and votes for the one you'd enjoy watching next. Or maybe you have a suggestion of your own. I'd love to check them out as well. Additionally, this video is sponsored by me. More precisely, my VGem page. I was absent for a long time due to uni exams and all that kind of stuff, but now I'm back and I want to start taking commissions again. I'm currently running a discount for the Hyperpop Painterly character art comms, so be sure to check them out. And if you're also struggling to find your own art style, hit that sub button and let's figure it out together. See you in the next one. Bye bye.